Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And today, for your viewing entertainment, we have a World of Tanks replay where the star of the show, who goes by the name of Placebo, is not top tier, and he's definitely not in an overpowered premium tank. He's in a premium tank. This is the Panzer IV S, but nobody ever accused this thing of being overpowered. This tank actually has a bit of history. What you're looking at here, boys and girls, is what the Tier 5 Panzer IV used to be like. That Panther turret, that long-barreled 75mm high-velocity anti-tank gun. That's what a fully upgraded Panzer IV used to look like at Tier 5, minus the side skirts, way back in the day. Wargaming decided in their wisdom that it was just a teeny little bit overpowered, and to be completely fair, it kinda was. But to be even more fair, at the time when this was a fully upgraded Tier 5 Panzer IV, this was the only thing on the battlefield that was actually capable of killing a KV. Not a KV-1, not a KV-2, this was before those two tanks existed in the game as we know them now. The Tier 5 KV, Soviet heavy tank, had the KV-2's 152mm howitzer, or it could have. And this was one of the few things on the battlefield that was actually capable of defeating it. Well, the KV went away, became the KV-1 at Tier 5 and the KV-2 at Tier 6. And as part of that whole mid-tier rebalancing package, which also included the loss of the Su-85's 100mm gun, yes, the Su-85 used to get the Su-100's gun. In fact, the Su-100 used to get the 122mm gun on the Su-152. But the Panzer IV, in this form, also went away and became the distinctly mediocre German Tier 5 medium tank that it is now. This machine, as a kind of nod to what the old Panzer IV used to be at Tier 5, was introduced as a Tier 6 premium with almost exactly the same stats as the old Tier 5 Panzer IV. Placebo here, doing his level best to try to finish off that Comet Tier 7 medium tank. Unfortunately, his teammates don't appear to want to play. If the Panther M10 up there had actually been awake, that Comet would not have gotten out of there alive. To be fair to the Panther M10, he was kind of busy. Anyway, the Panzer IV S Tier 6 premium German medium tank. Almost exactly the same as the old Tier 4 Panzer V used to be. It's had some side skirts added. It's been given a little bit more health because now it's Tier 6 and not Tier 5, but it's got exactly the same gun. It's a little bit faster, although it has a lower power to weight ratio than it used to have, so in effect it's actually less mobile. And now it has to fight Tier 8s, because it doesn't get preferential matchmaking. Now technically you could argue that the old Panzer IV, back in the day, as a Tier 5 medium, used to have to fight Tier 8s anyway with the old matchmaker. And the whole reason that the changes were made to tanks like the Su-85, the Su-100, the Panzer IV and the KV was because of the introduction of that new two-tier matchmaking spread. So you could kind of argue that this tank as a Tier 6 premium is actually in a slightly better place than it was when it was a Tier 5 non-premium medium tank. Oh, hang on, Black Prince sneaking around behind them. Well spotted, guys. So much for the Black Prince. So, yeah, comparing the Panzer IV S at Tier 6 to the old Panzer IV non-premium at Tier 5, this is probably a better deal. It still has to fight Tier 8s, but now it's Tier 6 with otherwise almost exactly the same stats. It has a little bit more health. On the other hand, I don't think anybody would ever accuse this thing of being an overpowered premium, because it does have exactly the same stats as the old Tier 5 Panzer IV. Oh, the T-20 has fired. He does have a very, very beefy gun, but the downside of having a powerful 90mm gun on a Tier 7 medium tank is you have a kind of slow reload, and Placebo wasted no time taking advantage of that and finishing the T-20 off. So Placebo and the Panther M10 with him, who only has 11 health remaining, another distinctly underwhelming premium tank, this time Tier 7, with pretty much exactly the same gun as the Panzer IV S here, only slightly better armour, and when I say slightly I really mean it. Ooh, nice snapshot, another kill. But yeah, you really do have to say well done to Well, let's face it, two fairly shitty premium tanks. Heavily outnumbered and heavily outgunned, and yet they've managed to hold their own against half of the enemy team. It's just a shame the rest of their team couldn't have done as well on the other side of the map. And a fairly decent turn of speed there in the Panzer IVs. Unfortunately, you only really see that kind of speed in this machine when it's going downhill. It does have a slightly higher top speed than the old Panzer IV used to, but it weighs more and the engine isn't very powerful, so the overall mobility is actually slightly worse. To be completely fair, while he has been fighting a lot of tier 7s, he hasn't actually had to fight any of the enemy tier 8s yet, which probably explains why the enemy team still have 2 tier 8 tanks remaining. So it's 4 against 6. The team's definitely not winning, and while the situation isn't great, they're not exactly losing either. Nice, another kill, although not for Placebo. Carnarvon out in the open there was definitely spotted, and sure enough, he's taken artillery fire. Placebo taking advantage of the downhill slope to get some speed up, get in there and support that Carnarvon. Unfortunately, the Carnarvon is, how can we put this, not the kind of teammate you want to really be anywhere near. Let's just put it like that, and well, you'll see what I mean later on. Now, up until now, Placebo hasn't had to fight any of the enemy tier 8s, but he's managed to kill the Oho. To be completely fair, the Oho didn't exactly make it difficult. Now, we already know that artillery is ranged in on this spot, and the Oho definitely spotted him. Yep, there it is. When suddenly, a wild Hellcat appears, and he plants a shot right through the front of this Panther turret. And that's when the enemy Dickermax decides to get in on the action. Now, Placebo does hit him with one shot, but he kind of whiffs his second shot. Enter stage left the Carnarvon. Remember, artillery is pre-aimed at this spot. They've already hit the Carnarvon. They've already hit... Yeah, get out of the... What are you doing? Oh my god. With teammates like that, who needs enemies? Luckily, artillery went for the Carnarvon. Well, one of them did. There are 2 artillery on the enemy team. And nothing from the M44. Is he just not in a position to fire? Is he aiming at something else? Was that the M44? I guess we'll never know. Meanwhile, his only surviving teammate, the Stuart Mill, finds himself in a quick draw snapshot gunfight against the Dickermax and wins. But he got spotted, and there are 2 artillery in play. And the Stuart Mill is a lot of things, but highly mobile is not one of them. And the Su-14-2 finishes him off. Enemy artillery have been doing quite well in this game. They've got 4 kills between the 2 of them. Placebo, in a bottom tier, fairly shitty medium tank, is now the last tank left alive on his team. He does have 530 health left, so if the Hellcat's camping in a bush somewhere, it's going to get the first shot off. It's going to require 3 shots to kill him, but the Hellcat isn't going to be the only thing shooting at him. Those 2 artillery will as well. Luckily, the Hellcat is not camping in a bush somewhere. Goes for the ram, reloads, finishes him off. Took his own tracks off with the ram, uses the repair kit to get going again because he knows what's going to happen next. Unfortunately, he's stuck in the water, not particularly mobile, and the Su-14-2 hammers him again. And now he's just sitting there waiting for the M44 to finish him off. But the shot never arrives. I have next to no idea why the M44 wasn't in a position to take a shot there. There's nothing else for the enemy team to be shooting at. Unless, because it's a fairly mobile artillery piece, unless that M44 is right now making a run for Placebo's flag. Because that's the only reason I can think of that would explain why this match is not already over with Placebo dead after taking 2 artillery hits in rapid succession. The first one from the Su-14-2, which shaved off most of his health and immobilised him with his repair kit on cooldown, and the second killing shot from the M44. It's the only explanation that makes any sense. If the M44 could have taken a shot, surely he would have taken a shot. So, well, if he was making a run for Placebo's flag, he would have been there by now, but nobody's capping. Well, I guess we're going to find out one way or the other, because it's 1 versus 2. Placebo appears to have a fairly good idea of where the Su-14-2 at least is likely to be. Squirreled away in the top corner of the map somewhere. Oh, no sign of him yet. Still no sign of the M44 capping, assuming that's what he is doing. Oh, there's the Su-14-2. Goes to blow his tracks off, and it doesn't do it. Tries to immobilise him with a second shot. It works, and oh, plot twist. Wait a minute, what the... Okay, I've got nothing. I can't even begin to explain what the M44 was doing there, why it failed to shoot at Placebo earlier, how the hell it missed that shot. I'm just as surprised to see it there as I have absolutely no doubt Placebo was. Let's just count the number of ways that M44 threw this match. First, he failed to take the shot at Placebo when the Su-14-2 nearly killed him earlier. If he had, he'd have won. Second, he didn't use his mobility to get around the map and cap while Placebo was hunting the Su-14-2. If he had, he would have won. And if he'd been able to shoot straight and hit a stationary Panzer IV 10 metres in front of him, he would have won. So, Placebo, you can thank the M44 on the enemy team for that Ace Tanker Radley Walters medal match that you just enjoyed in a bottom tier, rather shitty premium tier 6 medium tank. Ironically, by experience earned, that M44 was actually the best player on the enemy team. Now, I don't know what that says about all of the other tanks on the M44's team, or even what that says about all the other tanks on Placebo's team, because they nearly won. If not for Placebo's 9 kills, they would have. But I'll leave that one up to your judgment. Placebo, thank you for sending that one in. It definitely entertained me. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.